Welcome back to
Indoors.
Indoors. Woohoo! We're indoors. Okay, welcome back. I'm Mia. This is Chloe. We're the worship team. That's Keanu, Michael, Milan. And we're going to sing a couple songs for you. And so the first song is called Alive. And it's just super hype. And we've sang it before. And so just jump around, sing along with us, and have fun. Yeah. I don't know. Was that good? Fix my eyes following your ways, forever free in unending grace. 'Cause you are my freedom. We lift you higher, lift you higher. Your love, never ending. Oh, oh, oh. You are light in us, nothing can take your place. You are all we need. Your love has set us free. Whoa. In the midst of the darkest night, let your love be the shining light, breaking chains that were holding me. You sent your son down and set me free. Everything of this world will fade. I'm pressing on till I see your face. I will live that your will be done. I won't stop till your kingdom comes. 'Cause you are my freedom. We lift you higher, lift you higher. Your love, never ending. Oh, oh, oh. You are light in us, nothing can take your place. You are all we need. Your love has set us free. Whoa. Cause you are my freedom. We lift you higher. Cause you are my freedom. We lift you higher, lift you higher. Your love, never ending. Oh, oh, oh. You are light in us, nothing can take your place. You are all we need. Your love has set us free. You are light in us, nothing can take your place. You are all we need. Your love has set us free. Whoa.
Awesome. Whew, okay, that was fun. The next song we're going to sing is called Chain Reaction. This is another fun one. But this song is us asking God to do a new thing in our lives and start a chain reaction of holy passion. When we become Christians, we become a new transformed person, but sometimes we can lose the passion that we get at camps or stuff like that when we're back in normal life. and we may start just going through the motions and not really feeling connected with God. But God made us new, and that's an amazing thing. We should embrace that and ask God to reveal himself to us and ignite a passion inside of us. Eyes wide, I'm set on you. You made a road in the wild, standing on ancient truth. I'm pressing on with my back to the past, and oh, let the young see visions of the future, and I sing, oh, let the old dream dreams again. In my world, God, do a new thing. I know you're moving. In my world, a chain reaction of holy passion. Whoa. Heart synced in stride with you, bursting like heaven in motion. Jesus, you make me new. I'm pressing on with my back to the past, and oh, let the young see visions of the future, and I sing, oh, let the old dream dreams again. In my world, God, do a new thing. I know you're moving. In my world, a chain reaction of holy passion. Whoa. The old life is gone. It's a new day. It's a new day. Found where I belong. It's a new day. It's a new day. The old life is gone. It's a new day. It's a new day. Found where I belong. It's a new day. It's a new day. In my world, God, do a new thing. I know you're moving. In my world, God, do a new thing. I know you're moving. In my world, a chain reaction of holy passion. Whoa. The old life is gone. It's a new day. It's a new day. Found where I belong. It's a new day. It's a new day. Okay, let's pray. Dear Lord, thank you so much for bringing us all here tonight. We're so excited to be back inside, and we're so grateful that we were able to move back inside. And I just want to say thank you for music and community, that we get to be together and worship you through music. And it's just so much fun. And being able to bring glory to you through that is amazing. And I thank you for every single person here. And I pray that as we continue our series talking about comparison, that we can learn the way that you see us is what's important, and that we can try to not compare ourselves to others because you don't compare us to others. So just thank you for everything. Please speak through Tyler during this time, and we love you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. You can watch this video.
Hey guys, how you doing? So, hey, if you're not in a chair, I'm going to need you guys to find a chair to sit in. We do are specifically because we are indoor. We need you guys to be spaced out the way that we're supposed to. There's all these right here are chairs that you don't need to go grab a chair if you're going to go grab a chair, Ryan. There's chairs that are empty here. But they do need to be spaced out just because we are indoor. We do have the AC on, so it is circulating through here. Ryan, you can cut the haze if you haven't already. But just make sure that because we are indoor, we still need to be doing the social distancing guidelines and all that stuff that the city places on us. So we are doing it out of respect. But hey, on a more personal note, I just wanted to share with you guys. My mom passed away this last Tuesday, and it was something that I know many of you guys have been praying for, whether you've been on the worship team or student leadership team or something else. We've been asking for prayer because she was diagnosed with cancer about a year ago, and she finally passed this last Tuesday. So for those who have prayed for me, I just thank you so much for that. She went with she was comfortable when she left, but cancer just is a terrible disease that's kind of scary, and I was putting together the slideshow on Friday night. We had our service yesterday. I was up in Seattle Thursday, Friday, Saturday, so yesterday, and we had the service yesterday morning, and it was a COVID funeral. It was my just my immediate family, and then we streamed it on Facebook. So all of her siblings and all that stuff ended up having to watch online. But it was a beautiful service. But as I was putting the slideshow together for my mom, I started actually what broke me, and when I kept crying when I was putting it together, it took me 5 hours to put together, and it was and I think it's because it was just so hard, but it was the progression of the cancer. And for any of you guys who have experienced that in your life, experienced that in a family member, I'm sorry. I get it, and it sucks. The good thing, though, because of it was a progression and because it took time, I was able to have my goodbye. I was up there about a week and a half before she passed, and I was able to sit there and pray with her and pray over her, and I was able to tell her how much I loved her. And the last thing I said to her in person was, I love you, Mom. And the last thing she said to me in person was, I love you, Ty. And then I walked out and flew back home. But it was really good to be able to say that goodbye, and I'm just so thankful she's no longer in pain. So if you've experienced that before, and I'm sorry, but I just wanted you guys to kind of know where my heart's at. I know, I don't know if last week if I was short with anyone, but we thought she was going to pass away when I was preaching last week, but she held on. It was kind of weird. She was kind of in a comatose state for 2 or 3 days before she finally passed. But yeah, and I want you guys to know, my mom was a huge prayer warrior. She loved to pray. She always prayed for me. And she always prayed for you guys. And I think that's the thing that hit me. It's who's going to be praying for me now? And I know I have a lot of people praying for me, but I just know that my mom prayed for you guys. And she only came to a youth service once, and that was 4 years ago. But she watched faithfully online. And once we hit COVID, she was pretty much watching every single week. She would, there was one time that was because our numbers started to dip near the end of summer. And I was man, there's only 2 people in our high school service. But I knew one of them was my mom. And because she always loved watching our service. And as a sad thing, my mom couldn't go out, but COVID almost brought all the churches that she loved. My uncle's a pastor, her brother, and so she was able to watch him at 7 in the morning and then watch another service that she loved at like 8 and then watched ours at the first service. And yeah, I just know that she loved you guys, even though she didn't really know you. She prayed for you guys. And yeah, she was an amazing woman of God. And I am jealous, which I'm going to be talking about today, jealous of her that she gets to see Jesus and hang out with him. And but I know that she's definitely so much happier and so much more free, and she's with a lot of other loved ones that she's has passed before her. So, yeah. All right. So, in case you're new here, like, whoa, what's his sob story? I'm Tyler, and I'm the pastor here, and I just wanted to share that from my heart, just from you, so you guys kind of know me a little bit. Those of you who do know me a little bit more of just kind of what's been going on in my life. And so, yeah, I skipped church this morning just because I needed to rest. I needed to take it easy, but I just knew that I wanted to be here with you guys. And because I care about you guys and you're my peeps. So that's why I'm here, and I want to bring what I have to say to you. So we are actually in week 2 of our series called Like Me. And in this series, we are talking about comparison. We're talking about how we compare each other. And how many of you guys say that, okay, I struggle in some form or another of comparing myself to someone else? Yes, I think most of us probably do. And so, all right, I want to tell a little story, and I have some pictures, actually. So as I was actually, don't go to them yet, but as I was going through photos, putting together this slideshow for my mom, I went through all of my old photos, and I was like digging through these photos on Wednesday night, and I had already kind of prepped on what I was teaching, and I knew I was telling the story, and as I was thinking about telling this story, I flipped through some photos and found some, so you can see some pictures of me when I was little. But here's the first one. Right over here is me. So that's Travis over here on the left, and me talking about Travis, and Ryan, who's to my left. Travis is to my right, and I'm me. I'm not the redhead. That's Kevin. But Travis is the one who's right here. This was at my friend Patty Lindblom's house, and we had a swing. We actually took another photo like a couple years later when they came to visit, because Ryan and Travis actually ended up moving away to Texas. Here's the next picture of us. We kind of replicated it. So that's in my backyard. That was fun. I had a bowl cut. It was fun. That's not popular today, but it was definitely popular when I was that age. But Ryan and Travis, they were like my best friends. Ryan especially was my best friend. Travis was his younger brother. My oldest sibling was like 8 years older than me. So they pretty much already had their driver's license by this time. And I wanted a brother to play like Ryan had. Ryan had Travis. It's not up there anymore. But Ryan had Travis, his little brother, to wrestle with, to play with, to have fun with. But me, all my siblings were all older. My brother was even off in college by the time I was like 5, because he's 13 years older than me. And so I didn't really have that brother to really wrestle with, or like if I did wrestle with my brother, he would just beat me up because he was bigger than me. But I missed not having a brother that I could wrestle with, that I could laugh about life with. And because of that, I started actually becoming very jealous of Ryan. Yes, he was a year younger than me, and I was like, hey, I'm the big sports kid on the block, and I'm the one who always usually wins the games or whatever. But I was still jealous of Ryan, because even though he was a year younger than me, he had a brother that he could play with and have fun with when he was home. And whenever I came home, I ended up just hanging out by myself or with my parents. And so one day, I walked up to the door at Ryan and Travis's house. I knocked on the door, and I could see them through the window, because like they had little side windows next to the door. I could see them through the window, and they were wrestling. And I was like, I want to be part of that. How come they get it? I want to be in that. And so what ends up happening is Ryan ends up getting up, and they both run to the door because every kid loves answering the door. They run to the door, and so because I want to get into the situation, I want to get in with the wrestling, they open the door, and I immediately take a step forward, and I push Ryan. And to me, that was like, hey, I'm having fun. To Ryan, it was, whoa, and he fell backwards, fell into Travis, Travis then fell over. There's a domino effect. Travis then fell over and then hit his head on the back of a stairwell. And so, what ended up happening is just this huge, and Travis is crying. Ryan's just like, what's going on? And then their mom comes around the corner. Her name's Patty as well. And she grabs me by the arm. It's like, you go home right now. And I was like, oh, shoot, I'm the neighborhood bully. I didn't mean that. But she's like, you go home right now. I'm calling your mom. And so I like go to my house, and I'm scared because I know what's about to happen. I get to my house, and I open the door, and right when I open the door, my mom is right there to greet me. And she's like, go upstairs right now. And so I'm like, oh no, I have to go to my room. And so I got spanked a whole bunch of times, and I got really in trouble. It was not a good time. And it was all because of the simple fact that I was jealous of this kid who was probably, at that time, was my best friend. And he had a brother that he could hang out with whenever he wanted, but I didn't have that. And I didn't have someone that I could just hang out with whenever I could, and I was jealous of him. And sometimes jealousy can lead us to be slightly agitated at someone else. I was jealous, so I wanted to get in on it, and I was agitated at him because, like, how come he gets it and I don't? And sometimes it can lead us to straight up disliking someone as well. My relationship with Ryan after the time kind of started to fade away. They ended up moving away. We kind of lost touch. And the person that you're jealous of, he or she may be one of the nicest people that we know, and maybe they've never done anything remotely mean to us, but once jealousy creeps into our hearts, we view them in a different way. If you think, like, there are some people that we don't like because they're mean to you, right? Like, they ignore you, they call you names, or they talk down to you. Maybe they tried to hit on the person that you're dating, or they spread a bunch of false rumors about you. I get that. We don't like those people because of it. But then sometimes there are people who you dislike, who have never done anything harmful to you or towards you, and the only reasonable explanation for you not liking them is that you're jealous of them. And it could be for a million different reasons, okay? Here's a couple reasons on the screen here. Maybe it's their ridiculous good looks. Like, oh, they're just so beautiful. Why do I not look like that? Or it could be the car they drive. Like, man, why did their parents buy them that car? I deserve that car, not them. I have better grades than them. Or it could be who they're dating, and you see, like, oh, how did they get that person? I had a crush on him first. I claimed him. How did they get him? Or it could be the grades that you get. You're jealous of someone because they just seem a little bit smarter than you, and like, how come I don't have their grades? Or it could be the position that they have on the team or in the play that you tried out for that you wanted to be, but they got it and not you, and so you're jealous of them. Or maybe you pay, or maybe the attention that they get. You're jealous of all the attention, like, I don't get that attention. And they get it from everyone. Or it could be like even the house that they live in. You walk into their house because they invite you over, and you're like, oh, I just live in like a one-story like apartment. How can they get this really nice house that has 3 stories and 3-car garage? Or maybe the reasons are something deeper, like how they seem to have the perfect, unbroken family, and you just have a very broken family. Or maybe it's how their parents show up to all their events or games, and it's like pulling teeth to get your parents to get out of the house to actually come to any event that you have going on. Or how they're always healthy and never sick, and you're stuck with health issues that no one understands, and so you're always just kind of like, well, why am I struggling with those health issues? And they can just eat whatever they want. They can go do whatever they want. Or maybe it's how it seems like they can have confident conversations with other people so easily, but you can't even speak up in class. They just seem so confident whenever they're speaking. Whether your jealousy is over something small or something that runs deep, here's what I know is true. Jealousy changes the way that you see others, and it also changes the way that you see yourself. And these things, some of these are in your bulletins. If you want to follow along or fill in the blank, you can. I know that one should be in. I don't know. I didn't do those ones. Chloe did. It is okay. Perfect. So jealousy changes the way that you see others, and it changes the way you see yourself. And so when you see things that other people have that you don't, but you wish you did, jealousy can lead you to feel unhappy about your life. Even if you were totally happy with your life before, you seem to not be that happy. Or jealousy can make you feel insecure about who you are, or maybe even who you aren't. And you start to think, oh, look at them. And it makes you feel worse about you. And that's when anger starts to enter the scene. When you become you have a little bit of jealousy, anger starts to creep in, because anger almost always follows jealousy. And that person becomes the source of your unhappy feelings and eventually the target of your anger. And I don't know if any of you have been there, but you're so jealous of someone and you end up striking at them and they don't understand why you just struck at them and said something mean towards them. Like, whoa, what got into you? Well, it's this built up jealousy that you have that turned into anger and you lashed out. So when we feel anger towards someone, it is so much more difficult to celebrate the good things that we have and the good things that they have. And so that's what we're going to be talking about today. So what do we do instead? So the first thing, what do we do instead of actually being nice to them? But what do we do instead of striking with anger, but we're still jealous with them? What do we do? Well, we distance ourselves from them. We talk badly about them behind their backs. We secretly make lists in our heads of everything wrong with them, what can bring them down. And we don't like them, and then we start to act like it. Like, oh, I don't like them. I'm just going to be mean towards them. And that's what jealousy does to us. And all of a sudden, we're not good with them, and we're not good with ourselves either. Because jealousy brings anger, which brings bitterness. It's not a good thing. And the whole thing is, well, not good. We all know that. We all know that when we have jealousy that creeps in, that it starts to bring bad things out about ourselves. But the real question is what are we supposed to do about it? You can't just wave a magic wand and make life perfectly fair, and it's really had to not be jealous of someone. Like, we have to tell ourselves, oh, I can't be jealous of them. So what exactly are we supposed to do with it? If we are jealous, what are we supposed to do with it? If you've ever dealt with jealousy, you're not alone. Everyone in this room has experienced jealousy in some form or another. Adults deal with it just as much as you do. And in fact, this has been a struggle for most human beings in general. That's why we can read stories of people experiencing the same thing in the Bible, because it happened then as well. And so in ancient times, there was a man named Saul. This isn't the Saul who turned into Paul. This is a man named Saul. He was the first king over Israel. And he's initially known as a good and generous king, courageous in battle, and generally had respect of his kingdom. He was a tall and handsome man as well. And so during his rule, he and his people found themselves in battle against a powerful group called the Philistines. And if you've ever heard the story about David and Goliath, then you know who Saul was at battle against, because Goliath was a Philistine. All right, so we're going to read 1 Samuel 17, verse 1 through 3. It's in your bulletins. It's going to be on the Sky Bible up here. It's now the Sky Bible again. It's not the TV. Woo. All right, so it says, now the Philistines gathered their forces for war and assembled at Socoh in Judah. They pitched camp at Ephes Dammim between Socoh and Azekah. There's so much going on here. Saul and the Israelites assembled and camped in the valley of Elah and drew up their battle line to meet the Philistines. The Philistines occupied one hill and the Israelites another, with a valley between them. So they're on two different hills, a valley, a battle valley in between them, and that's what's happening. So it's a perfect setup for a good old-fashioned showdown. Okay, but the Philistines had a secret weapon. Okay, verse 4. A champion named Goliath, who was from Gath, came out of the Philistine camp. His height was 6 cubits and a span. He had a bronze helmet on his head and wore a coat of scale armor of bronze weighing 5,000 shekels. All right? And so obviously this was a big dude. He was like, they believe probably around 9 feet, 8 to 9 feet tall. And he was also a champion. He crushed people. He was experienced in battle. And so who would stand up to him? And that's when David stepped in and saying that he was ready to fight Goliath. And so Saul heard about this and he sent for him. And so verse 32 and 33 says, David said to Saul, let no one lose heart of an account of this Philistine. Your servant will go fight for him. David saying, I'll go fight for him. Saul replied, you are not able to go out against this Philistine and fight him. You are only a young man, and he has been a warrior from his youth. So basically, Saul is saying, hey, David is crazy for thinking that he could take Goliath on, because he's just a young boy, and Goliath has fought men, and he's a giant. But eventually, David talks Saul into it, and this is what happened in verse 48 through 50. It says, as the Philistine moved closer to attack him, David ran quickly towards the battle line to meet him. Reaching into his bag and taking out a stone, he slung it and struck the Philistine on the forehead. The stone sank into his forehead and he fell face down on the ground. So David triumphed over the Philistine with a sling and a stone. Without a sword in his hand, he struck down the Philistine and killed him. So as you can imagine, David became an instant hero for the Israelite people. Like, this is the people of Saul, he's a king over. David was the hero. Everyone knew who he was. And his story didn't end on the battlefield. King Saul promoted David because of his courage. He became a commander in his army. And David delivered in 1 Samuel 18, verse 5. It says, whatever mission Saul sent him on, David was so successful that Saul gave him a high rank in the army. This pleased all the troops and Saul's officials as well. So David went on to have great success during that time, and it was like everything he touched just turned to gold. And all the people loved him. Verse 7 says, as they danced, they sang, Saul has slain his thousands and David his tens of thousands. So the people danced and they celebrated. And they quite literally celebrated David and praised him as greater than their very own king. And you can probably imagine how that went over. Put yourself in Saul's shoes. Someone else is praising someone who's below you. Would you like that? How do you think he felt about everyone loving David more than him? And so let's look at his reaction in verse 8 and 9. Saul was very angry. This refrain, this song, displeased him greatly. They have credited David with tens of thousands, he thought, but me with only thousands. What more can he get but the kingdom? And from that time on, Saul kept a close eye on David. So as the people continued to praise David for his heroic efforts, they began to view him as greater than Saul. And now it's not that the people turned on Saul, they just really liked David. And that's when jealousy set in for Saul. Verse 15 says, when Saul saw how successful he was afraid of him. So Saul could have been happy for David. He could have been like, oh man, I have this great commander and he's killing tens of thousands and sweet, we're all on the same team. He could have applauded him along with all the people and celebrated the fact that David helped his nation succeed. But instead, Saul felt threatened by David's rise to fame and power. He eventually plotted to kill David. He spent a large majority of his life from that point on chasing him in hopes to take David out, trying to kill him, throwing spears at him. And it's crazy because Saul was the one who recognized David's skills from the very beginning and promoted him into the leadership position. So what changed? And I think the author of a proverb gives us insight about how jealousy can lead to destruction. Proverbs 14, verse 30. It says, a heart at peace gives life to the body, but envy, jealousy, rots the bones. So if we're not careful, we can find ourselves in the same position as King Saul. We'll discover ourselves and discover how jealousy of a friend can rot. It can destroy and ruin us. Jealousy can destroy that friendship that we have with that person. Jealousy can cause us to doubt our own talents, our own achievements, our own successes, and think that we're not good enough because we don't measure up to this other person that we're jealous of. Jealousy can rot how we feel about ourselves. Jealousy can kill our sense of peace, and we'll always be thinking about that other person. Now, here's a fun fact that we can't not talk about. You know who wrote that proverb in Proverbs 14? Most believe it was actually Solomon. Solomon was David's son, writing years later after David. And the Bible doesn't tell us how he came up with the idea, but I can imagine this saying that envy rots the bones being something Solomon heard from his father over and over as he was growing up because of his father. As he was growing up and his father would speak to him, his father David saw the devastating effects that jealousy had on his friend Saul. And just like Solomon learned wisdom from David's experience, so can we. We will constantly encounter people who seem to have better things and a better life than us. We will always be running into other friends, other people that we meet, and it just seems like they have everything and we don't. They get it, we don't get it. Why? And that will never stop, and sometimes that sets our hearts in a very strange direction. If we allow jealousy to take us over, it starts to rot the bones. It starts to take over and ruin our lives. And if we aren't careful, that gut feeling of jealousy has a potential to not only ruin our relationship with others, but also ruin the way that we feel about ourselves. Okay, so we all get it. Jealousy hurts us, right? But what are we supposed to do about it? You can't just decide not to feel something that you feel, right? Like, I feel it. I should just allow myself to keep feeling it. Anybody ever try that? Just try to tell them, no, okay, I can't feel that way. Like, it still happens. You still just feel that way. Okay, so let's practice this. Okay, think of someone that you might be jealous of, or that you're like, man, I had this jealous feelings of, or they get this, and how come I don't get that? Now, don't be jealous of them. How'd that work? Of course not. That's ridiculous to do that. But there is something that we can do. Something that all research and brain science says that can actually help us lessen the effect of jealousy. Okay, here it is. We can celebrate others. We can celebrate their achievements. Because the more I celebrate others, the more I end up liking me. It's kind of like this. Have any of you guys ever been on one of these boats? This is a big halibut fishing boat. I went on one of these when I was younger with my dad. It was kind of a father-son and some of my dad's work buddies trip, and it was really cool. At first, it was really cool. But for some people, it's fun. But for me, well, I spent most of the time on that boat looking like this. I was puking my guts out. It was bad. And it was not pretty. Like, honestly, it was coming out both ends and whatever. And since my brain, I was young. I was like your guys' like middle school age or something like that. And since my brain was making me nauseated because I kept feeling the back and forth motion. I just can't unfeel that. I can't just say, okay, stop feeling that way. That didn't happen. It just kept happening that way. And so, but you know what does work? And like I don't know if we had these back then. I didn't use them, but like I've seen them. Like, oh, I wish I had one of these. This is what works. Have you ever seen these? So here's the trick about this. These are just little wristbands that have a little ball at the end, or ball at the wrist part of it. What's crazy about these is there's no medicine in them. None at all. But they put pressure in just the right spot to trick your brain into feeling something different than it feels. And so celebrating others works the same way. It shouldn't work the way that it does. But when you do it, you can trick your brain into feeling less jealousy, and more love and compassion towards that person. When you're celebrating other people, what you're doing is you're tricking your brain into not saying, oh, I'm jealous of them, but man, I'm so proud of them, and you become a much more loving person. And you'll have more compassion. So here are 2 great ways to put this into practice. If you are struggling with jealousy, here's 2 great ways to put this into practice, okay? Number 1, start with yourself. Start with yourself. Start celebrating yourself. Look at your own life and determine what's worth celebrating. What is worth celebrating? It could be that A that you got this last week. It could be the friendship that you just gained. It could be something like what are you good at? Every one of you here in this room is good at something. Some of you might be good at more things. That's fine. But some of you might only be good at one thing. But celebrate that. What is that one thing you're good at? What do you have to be thankful for? What's good in your life right now? And this might seem like a really cheesy question to ask or practices to participate in, but trust me, write them down. Write down the things that you're like, man, I need to celebrate this. This is good. This is good about me. Maybe even challenge yourself to write down one thing every day. It'll help. It'll help you realize, what are you good at? I'm good at connecting with people. I'm funny. I have really good acne today. Or non-acne today. I have really clear skin today. There we go. All right, second one. 2, move towards a person that you're jealous of. Don't move away from them. That's our natural reaction, right? Move towards that person. When you feel that tug towards jealousy, like, oh, I don't want to hang out with them, ask yourself what you can celebrate about that person that you're jealous of. What are they good at? What things make you thankful for them in your life? Write those things down too. If you're jealous of someone, write down, man, they're so good at making other friends. I'm happy that I'm one of those friends. This may be difficult at first, and it may seem pointless for a while. You might sit there and be like, Tyler, this is so dumb. I tried this for 2 days, and it just doesn't work. Try it for longer. Keep doing it, even if you don't feel like doing it. But if you stick with it and stay committed to the process, you'll be amazed at how it changes how you see yourself and how you see the person that you're jealous of. Spend some time praying and asking for God to help in changing your heart towards that person and towards you. Like your heart changes towards yourself. You see, God isn't mad at you for being jealous. He understands that we all come wired with a tendency towards jealousy. We all face it. He also knows how much it can hurt you in your relationships, which is why he wants to set you free from your jealousy. Jealousy will rot your relationship and it will rot your peace. But the more you celebrate others, the more you end up liking yourself. So who do you need to celebrate? Who do you need to point out good things about? Begin to brainstorm ideas of how to celebrate others in your life group this week. And on your own, you can begin to immediately you can do the immediate work of celebrating the people that you are jealous of, and in turn, experiencing more freedom in your relationship with yourself and with others. So what is that one thing that you can do this week to celebrate them? All right, let me pray, and then we're going to go into a couple more songs of worship. Father, I just thank you so much for giving us some wisdom on how we can be set free from jealousy. God, I thank you for guys like David who experienced it themselves. And God, I know that he went through it, and it was very difficult for him, and he really didn't get a sense of freedom from it for a very long time. But God, I pray that every single one here, if they have jealousy, that they can start working on finding freedom, finding peace, getting away from that jealousy that rots their life away. So, Father, I just pray that we can start celebrating ourselves, that we can start celebrating others, and that we just become all around a more happier and joy-filled person. And so, Father, we just thank you for your grace. We thank you for who you are, that we can find that peace in you. So, Father, give us strength in the name of Christ. We love you, Jesus, and pray this in your name. Amen. Hey, we're going to sing a couple more songs. You guys can stand, and we're going to sing.
Hey, guys. The next song that we're going to sing is called Springtime. This is a new one. You might have heard it before. It's really good. But this song, in the chorus, it says that God's love is like springtime. So winter kind of represents cold and darkness, which can symbolize difficulties or death. But spring comes after winter and brings light and new life. So while singing this, we can remember that God is light and love, and he overcame death. And if we accept him, he lives inside of us.
You're the resurrection that we've waited for. You buried the night and came with the morning. You're the King of heaven. The praise is yours. The longer the quiet, the louder the chorus. We will sing a new song, 'cause death is dead and gone with the winter. We will sing a new song, let hallelujahs flow like a river. We're coming back to life, we're reaching towards the light. Your love is like springtime. You're the living water, God, we thirst for you. The dry and the barren will flower and bloom. You're the sun that's shining, you restore my soul. The deeper you call us, oh, the deeper we'll go. We will sing a new song, 'cause death is dead and gone with the winter. We will sing a new song, let hallelujahs flow like a river. We're coming back to life, we're reaching towards the light. Your love is like springtime. Come tend the soil, come tend the soil of my soul, and like a garden, and like a garden I will grow. I will grow. Come tend the soil, come tend the soil of my soul, and like a garden, and like a
have one more song, and it's Reckless Love. And you might have heard it before. If you haven't, this is Reckless Love. And, it's just about how whatever jealousy you might be feeling in your heart, God's overwhelming love will just overwhelm you. And it'll defeat any jealousy you have in your heart and any, like, impurities. It just gets rid of that, so thanks.
Before I spoke a word, you were singing over me. You've been so, so good to me. Before I took a breath, you breathed your life in me. You've been so, so kind to me. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Oh, it chases me down, fights till I'm found, leaves the 99. I couldn't earn it, I don't deserve it, still you give yourself away. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Yeah.
thank you so much for coming. Have a great rest of your night. This has been Roots. I don't know. Yeah. Have a good night.
Mic drop. Yeah, that's about it. Yeah, great job.
Yeah, love you guys.
Give it up.
Have a
Love
great
you
This
night.
is the
all.
first. This is the first week in a while that we haven't been like, okay, yeah, tell your parents to come at 8 because we're gonna clean up. So yeah, you guys are good to go. You don't have to like.
See you next week.
So yeah, have a great week, you guys. Love you guys.